Hi, I'm here today with Harry Doling from Umbra in Swansea, and this is one of the partner companies with Theben. We're on the control side, obviously, and Umbra is the shading experts.
So Umbra is a family business, started by my grandpa about 50 years ago, so it's been going a little while, and we design and make shading products. So we have our own design team. A lot of the products we produce are completely unique to us, and we've kind of got that family philosophy about the business. We're part of Made in Britain, so for us as a British company, we try and source as much as we can here in the UK, and obviously we're a local employer. The hardware, so the tubes, the profile extrusions, a lot of that's our own. So some of it's UK based, some of it's from Europe. And then the bracketry, most of the bracketry is UK produced, so like the steel work. And then the powder coating, we have our own powder coating plant here in the factory.
We come at this from a control side of thing, so we're looking at that integration of the shading with other elements within the building. And since the advent of Part O and the building regulations looking at overheating, shading has become vital. It was always important, but I think it wasn't seen as important. Now it's vital. It's a vital part of the building. It's part of the building regulations. And for us, that control side of things is to look at indoor and outdoor temperatures, lighting levels. The right shading allows you to have the right light levels. It allows you to protect from solar gain or benefit from solar gain in the winter. But you need to control that. You need to have all of those elements monitored and then controlled.
Windows are getting designed bigger and bigger. People want more and more glazing, right? And we see shading as part of light control, because it is, isn't it? It's the control of your biggest source of daylight. So I think you have to look at lighting as an overall thing. You kind of have to say, we've got the LED lighting and we've got the natural lighting. How do we balance those? How do we make them work together? And there's two aspects to that. There's the well-being side. Maximizing daylight is, as we all know, is nice, it's good for you, and especially in the working environment. But then there's also the energy side, isn't there? There's a discomfort trigger for people to close their blinds, whether they're motorized or manual. If the sun's in your eyes, you go and close the blinds, right? But there's no discomfort trigger to make you open the blinds. So if you've closed the blinds, they're gonna stay closed in 80–90% of the situations until someone comes along and wants to see out the window, or the cleaner resets them at night, or whatever that happens. And so your blinds are down, the sun has moved around, and probably your artificial lighting is boosted up to compensate for the reduced incoming daylight unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Daylight harvesting.
Yeah, daylight harvesting, that monitoring, as you say, and the automated blind sits into that perfectly, where we can monitor internal, external light levels, occupancy levels, what that room is going to be used for. So with that automated blind, well, it's automated. It's part of the system. It's part of the delivery of light, of health and well-being, as you say. People want natural light, and they perform better in natural light. Certainly in a commercial environment, no one wants to sit in an office with no windows. We know that. But no one wants to sit in an office that's too hot or that's got too much sun glare, and that's it. And that blinds are that absolutely integral part of all of that. You can't do it any other way. There's no way around it.
People often think about the fabric on the blind, because at the end of the day, the fabric is basically what you see of the blind. That's the major part of the shading product. Right, so we're going to think a lot about that, the performance of the fabric. There's thousands of different fabrics, and you've got all the performance data for them. You've got silver backing on fabrics to reflect heat and light, which is all fantastic. But if it's not in the right place at the right time, it's pointless, right? You'd be better off having a really, really basic, cheap fabric that's in the right place at the right time every day than spending 70, 80, 100 pounds a metre on the best fabric that either stays fully rolled up or fully rolled down at the wrong time. As a blinds manufacturer, we always try and start with control. What do you want it to do? like what you're trying to achieve and how are we going to make it achieve that. Then we can look at what the rest of the product is, what does it look like, all the custom colours, the fabric, the performance, because that's when all of those kind of play into that.
The building regulations, that part has focused people. You know, they didn't look at it beforehand necessarily. They looked at blinds as a window dressing, and it's not, and it never has been, and it never should be. And so that part has been able to focus people, focus the architect, focus the designer, the lighting designers. They are now looking and having to look at light levels and light control and how that is all managed within the system. And again, you've got to have the right controls and you've got to have the right product, the right blinds.
Yeah, and I think that's really important what you say there, because at the end of the day, window dressing is important from an interior design perspective, but blinds are very, very functional, and curtains can be very functional. And I think it's interesting to look at that in the context of building specification, you know, like the NBS, National Building Specification, because blinds or shading falls into N10, which is fixtures and fittings basically. Wow. So that's your tables and your chairs. But you don't put your tables and chairs in the building until the building is finished. That's the wrong time to look at blinds when you're talking about them from a functional perspective. You've got to be thinking about them sooner, haven't you? You've got to get the right control methodology in place, whether that be cables in the right place or at least the right control plan that can then be implemented throughout the stages of the build. We need to make it part of the electrical plan, and particularly in a home, you know, you're thinking about socket location and light location long before you're ever going to see any socket faceplates or lights, right? Because you've got to. And we need to do the same thing with blinds. And you may complete the build and you may not even put blinds in straight away, either because you can't make a decision or because of budget reasons or whatever. But you can run in cables, which really, when you're running cables everywhere else to sockets and everything else, it's actually really easy, isn't it? It's not expensive to do it at that stage, because then the provision is there and we're actually future-proofing our buildings in the right way.